I think that to me was the most challenging part, is trying to push concepts that didn't necessarily click in that region. And I was making, I mean, in reality, this was working with the top Arabic filmmakers and cast. So I had to lean into their culture.
I guess to kind of dive into it, first of all, I love this film. I love the cello. I'm a huge horror fan, so I was super excited to get to watch it.
Thank you.
I would love to know what drew you to the project and made you want to get involved.
I think that in my career, I've been very lucky that I've been able to make extreme risks. The luck of doing the Saw franchise very early on has given me the ability to make really weird and somewhat dangerous choices. Doing rock operas, doing immersive theater, as well as going to foreign countries and making movies in the native language. So before this movie, I did something in Japan called Crow's Blood. It was in all Japanese, not a single word of English spoken. And I loved it because it forced me out of my comfort zone. It was such a unique, different experience for me as a filmmaker. I just kind of chased that high. And so after going to Japan, I did a thing in Thailand where a lot of it was in Thai. Then this presented itself. Originally, we were supposed to shoot it in Egypt. So when I signed on, the original thing was it was going to be shot in Egypt. And that's where I actually was for a long period of time. And then one of the producers and writer, Turki El Sheikh, said, you know what, you got to come to my country. And I said, where is that? And he said, Saudi Arabia. And I said, no, thank you. And he goes, no, just come for 24 hours. I promise you we'll have much better visuals there. And I said no for like a week. I was like, I'm fine. And then finally he goes, just give it 24 hours. And so myself and the producer, Lee Nelson, got on the plane and we flew over. And immediately I was like, this place is awesome. It felt like the only way I can describe it, it felt like a renaissance. Like for so long, movies weren't allowed there. Music wasn't allowed there. There was such this kind of oppressive feeling over the country. And then in the last 4 years, they've allowed art. They allowed music and movies and entertainment. And so there was this palpable excitement in the air. And I feed off that. I feed off things that feel different. And so to me, I literally was there like 3 hours and I was like, this place is awesome. You just felt this energy. So that was how it started. It started with this opportunity to go, make a movie that was completely outside of my comfort zone and a place that I never in a million years would have thought I would be standing in, and getting to work with some people that, it was just insane to me. So I couldn't turn it down.
Well, how early on was Tobin attached to the project? I mean, did you reach out to him for casting?
A couple of things. So I was so fucking angry, for lack of a better word, that I couldn't put Tobin in Spiral. Tobin and I are very good friends. And one of the early mandates when making Spiral was that they wanted the movie to exist in its own universe and they didn't want Tobin to be a part of that. So I was bummed out. Because I was very excited about getting to rework with Tobin after all those years of being away from the Saw universe. So when we realized we weren't able to use Tobin, I called him up and I said, I promise you the next thing I do, you're in it. You're absolutely in it. And so when I had this opportunity to go do cello, I was one of the first requests I had is can we please put Tobin in this thing? And he's just awesome. He exudes such confidence and there's no other actor like him. And I just loved it. So he was the second actor cast. Jeremy Irons was first and then Tobin was second.
I was also sad that he wasn't in Spiral.
I think the world was sad that Tobin wasn't in Spiral, as you can tell from Saw 10 making $1 bazillion.
Bro, yeah, he's obviously Jigsaw is an amazing character. But yes. Yeah. Well, I also wanted to ask you, given that this film, it's mostly in Arabic, but it's also a little bit in English. How was that? I mean, do you speak the language? How was kind of directing?
I barely speak English to a point that people can understand me. So again, I think that, now that I've gotten older in my life, I give zero fucks and I say things maybe I shouldn't say, but after Saw 4 happened and then I made Repo, I just stopped caring. Everything became easy. And I didn't feel challenged like I wanted to, because I think that I was they say you're only as successful as the people you're surrounded with. So with the Saw movies, I was surrounded by the best of the best of the best. And it just got to a point that I didn't feel challenged. And so for me as an artist, I want to feel challenged. I want to do things that is challenging. So going to a culture that I've never been a part of, and directing act. And by the way, the thing that's insane you have to know about Cello is these actors that are in it are the Meryl Streeps of those regions. So the mother, Nasir's mother in it, she's a Kuwaiti actress who is the top of the top of the top of that universe. The person who played Nasir, Samir, he is one of the top Syrian actors. Ilham, who is the main girl, one of the top Saudi actresses. So it was insane to be able to go there and not only not speak the language, but the way they make movies is completely different. So to me, there is a energy that I can't even articulate, and it just feels dangerous and exciting at the same time, because I don't feel comfortable. I always feel like I don't know what I'm doing. I feel constantly on the edge. And I think that to me, that keeps me on my toes. And I loved that feeling of, almost like it's my first movie all over again. Now, directing them in English was not hard at all, because every one of them spoke English. So what we would do is we would rehearse everything in English. And then after I rehearsed it in English, they would talk amongst themselves and redo it in Arabic. What I found kind of challenging is some of our concepts don't translate. And I'll give you just one example. I talked about in the script. So there was an Arabic script and an English script. So I had the English script, obviously, and they had the Arabic script. But something as simple as the idea of mourning, the idea that when someone dies, you mourn, that was something that did not translate. That caused such confusion, that word mourning. And there's a scene after Samir's mother dies, or Nasir's mother dies. There's a scene of him sitting and all these people are kind of walking past him. That's not something they do there. And so the challenges came from concepts that are not cross-regional. You would think something like, there's some things that we all do as a society. There are some things that are just localized. And so I think that to me was the most challenging part, is trying to push concepts that didn't necessarily click in that region. And I was in reality, this was working with the top Arabic filmmakers and cast. So I had to lean into their culture. And so I think that to me was probably the most challenging part, was the difference of, regional customs.
Well, I also wanted to ask you, because obviously a lot of this is around a cello. The actors do have to have some kind of idea of what it looks like to play. Did you guys bring in any professional musicians? Did the main character have any background in music?
So the Samir, who played Nasser, was cast very late in the process. I think he was extremely overwhelmed when the first conversation I had with him, because I was like, hey, listen, I know you don't speak English, all the time. You need to brush up on your English. You're going to have scenes with Jeremy Irons. Secondly, I need you to be a professional cello player that has to sell that you're the best in the world. We immediately sent to Syria a cellist that trained him, I think 2.5 weeks in Syria before he came to Saudi to join us. And then he had another 2 weeks in Saudi. When we were filming, we had a cellist sitting under the camera at all times that would try to correct him. And so Nasir character would look under the cello or under the camera and try to mimic the actions of what the professional cello player was doing. There were times that I tried to be cool and do a green screen head replacement where I had a professional cello player wearing a green screen cap and tried to replace it, but then I realized how dumb it looked, so we didn't do any of that. So everything you see in the movie is the actual actor doing it himself. So yeah, he took, I would say, about a month's worth of lessons doing it leading up to the movie.
I also really enjoyed watching Nasser's kind of gradual change throughout the film as, he gets more into playing this cello. How did you work with the actor to kind of see how that would affect his relationships and his personality kind of going forward.
Well, the good news on this movie is so often you shoot things out of order. You'll shoot the end of the movie, then you go back to the middle, then the beginning. We pretty much were able to shoot it in continuity order, which I think helps all of us a lot. It helped me a lot to keep track of things, and I think it helped the actor quite a bit. Like I said, I think one of the hardest things on this film for me was navigating customs of what a Western audience versus a Middle Eastern audience respond to and react to. And that comes from the way of just even how performances are done. Some of my favorite horror films, they're very subtle. They have very subtle reactions to things. When I was in Egypt, for example, I spent so much time in my hotel room researching and writing, and I had the TV on, and I was kind of taken aback by a lot of the performances are very big and grandiose to show things. And I think that trying to navigate that with the actors is also something about, the sensibilities of like an A24 movie. Like if you're going to watch something like an Ari Aster film, trying to explain that to them, there's no concept, there's no frame of reference. So I found that to be challenging. But the great part was that I talk in movie language. So when we would all sit down and I'd say, like this movie, like this movie, like this. And then they would just go home and watch it. And they'd be like, oh yeah, I got it. I understand what you're saying now. But it was a learning on both sides, on mine and theirs as well, trying to do this.
Well, lastly, as a massive Saw and John Kramer fan, I am so curious to hear your thoughts on the direction that the franchise has taken, since your time on the films.
I'm extremely jealous. Shawnee Smith and Tobin Bell are two of my favorite people in the entire world. I was over the moon, giddy and excited that I got the ability to work with Samuel Jackson and Chris Rock and Max Minghella and all those people. But again, it felt like a first film for me, a first time. And then getting to sit in the theater and the premiere of Saw 10, it was like all my old friends back together doing that thing. So I thought Kevin did a great job with the film. And I think that, they did something very smart, which was they gave fans what they wanted, not what they thought they wanted, what the fans were demanding. And the fans know what they like. They like Billy. They like John Kramer. They like Amanda. They like Costas Mandylor. That's what they want to see. And I think Saw 10 was a love letter from the producers to the fans of, hey, everything that you wanted to see, here it is. And I think what's cool about Twisted Pictures, Mark and Oren, is they do take risks. And so doing this, crazy spiral thing with a 6-minute Forrest Gump monologue starting the thing off, I mean, that was a ballsy risk. But I think going back to what the fans respond to it was the smart move. And I'm excited, just like everyone else, to see what they do next. And I'm positive there will be a next. So I'm excited, just like you are, to see what that is.
Oh yes, I'm definitely so excited. But that's awesome. Yeah, thanks for sharing your thoughts and for chatting with me today, Darren. It was so great to talk to you.
Nice talking to you as well.